Dun, 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 dun. What is that in the sky? Is it a bird? Is it a plane?
No, it's a big fucking intro.
Oh! Discussion.
Alright, so hi there guys, welcome back to another episode of Dawn of Discussion. I'm your host, Guy vs. Wiley, and my co-host, Ron.
Why am I co-host?
Fine, I'm your co-host. We're co-hosts together, the both of us, because we co-host the show. Alright, let's get into the episode.
Let's get
Superman.
Superman. He's
who is he and what should you think of him?
right.
Because people always seem to get it wrong.
We're not trying to be superior or anything.
No.
We're just saying you're wrong.
We're not, it's not that we're right, it's just that you're wrong. There we go.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's give you a little bit of background about Superman. Superman is an alien being from a planet called Krypton that was destroyed, and he was sent to Earth as a child by his birth parents, Jor-El, Lara-El, to a family on Earth known as the Kents, Martha and Jonathan, who raised him, and he became known. And he had powers because of Earth's yellow sun. And at some point down in his life, he decided, I want to protect people because that's what I've been brought up to do and help them. So I'm going to become a superhero. And henceforth, Superman was born. As for the S, that has multiple different interpretations of what it means.
As far as I know, it just stands for Superman.
As far as we know, it stands for Superman. In the Man of Steel version, it's a symbol from his own planet, which means hope. And in the Superman Year One, it was made by Martha Kent, and it stands for the fact that he is a son of two Earths, a world that he'll never know, and a world that he was raised on.
Yeah, but born to protect.
Born to protect. There we go.
Yeah. So the main reason we really want to talk about him is because we've been hearing a lot of crap about our main man recently. Not just recently, but like for a long time. A really long time. For all kinds of things of him being
lame, overpowered, stupid, useless, dumb, just...
Oh, how many interesting stories can you tell about a flawless being? Well, we're here to set the record straight.
Superman is physically perfect. Psychologically, he could be one of the most flawed people in the DC universe.
In some ways, you might think he may be as fucked up as Batman.
Yeah, and we're going to any Batman fan out there who thinks, oh, Superman's boring, I'm going to hit you with your own fucking superhero's quote. Superman is more human than me. You want to know who said that? Batman. Batman fucking said that.
You should do that in an S form, really. You know, like... It's really hard to trace this.
Let's get into the reasons why let's compare Batman and Superman psychologically.
That would be a good starting off point, because actually Batman is one of the most beloved superheroes, especially from the DC universe.
He's probably, in terms of popularity, I'd say he's the most popular superhero currently ever.
Yeah, that's about
currently,
right.
Not of all time, Superman takes that mark, but currently he is.
By the way, can we just remind everyone that Batman, as we know him, hasn't really been around since before the 80s? Like, the Batman that we know and love today has only been around for maybe 30 years?
Yeah, 30, 40 years, roughly.
Yeah, in his almost 80 years of existence?
Yeah, just over 75 now. Because let's give you a bit more brief history of the creation. So DC was founded in 1932. Superman's first ever comic, which was Action Comics issue number 1, came out in 1938. Batman's first ever comic, Detective Comics issue number 1, came out the following year in 1939. And in 1940 was followed by... in 1938 was the creation of Marvel. 1940 was the first issue of Captain America, the first issue of Wonder Woman, the first issue of Green Lantern, I think. I'm not sure about Green Lantern, but Flash was definitely as well in 1940. So,
but it's worth mentioning that the big three of DC around that time were Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. Yeah. And still are today.
Yeah, they're still the Trinity. Yeah.
Because they are the Trinity, because they represent exactly like the corners of what superheroes should be.
Yeah.
Batman has the humanity, or being the human being.
He has the human origins, and it kind of ends with him just the fact that he shares a similar biology to human. Other than that, his similarities are almost...
he's the human. Then we have Superman, who's the alien, and Wonder Woman, who's the goddess.
The goddess. Also, I think as I was talking about it with Ron earlier, in terms of describing what the team is essentially in terms of the Justice League, and why we both in a kind of agreed that Wonder Woman should realistically always be the one in charge. We'll get into that in maybe a different episode. That'll be another.
But it's an interesting.
Let
Let us know if you want.
Yeah, if you want another.
Because
episode.
you never fucking
about,
tell us anything, do you?
Yeah, no one. Batman's the brains because obviously he's probably the most tactical of the group. He's the world's greatest detective. Blah blah blah.
And pretty much every time there is a plan, he's the one behind it.
Yeah, and Superman is the face simply because out of the three of them, who does the world trust the most? They don't trust Batman. He's a vigilante who's crazy because he dresses up like a bat and he beats people into submission. Wonder Woman
She's
is from
another
an island
civilization that no one ever fucking heard of.
Also, she has a political agenda because of that reason.
Yeah.
She is an emissary for a group of people, meaning people less likely to trust people who have a political agenda. Superman is the neutral one in all this.
The all-American...
All-American back during the 1990s and back then. Now in the 21st century, he doesn't stand for truth, justice, the American way. That's Captain America still. He no longer even stands for truth, justice, and freedom. He stands for hope, which is the combination of all three into one.
Basically, yeah.
And that's the point of him, is that he represents what humanity could be. You know, he represents the idea that humanity can be better and could be better.
The best of us.
Yeah, the best of us. He represents the best humanity has to offer. Now, I know what Batman fans say, oh, but he's not human. How can he be the representation of that? Physically, biologically, he is not human.
You are correct.
Psychologically, he could not be more human.
Yeah.
He has fears.
He has hopes and dreams.
Hopes and dreams.
He's raised on a Kansas farm. He's been to school with normal human beings that at some point he started developing powers and he felt like an outcast throughout.
Yeah.
He knows what it's like to be the outcast.
Yeah, he knows he's been bullied throughout his whole life. Also, perhaps more importantly, he even has self-doubt. And that's a big part of it as well. Batman very rarely lacks confidence. Superman has on occasion lacked confidence. And in his fight with Doomsday, he ultimately comes to the conclusion, in Death of Superman that is, that he cannot beat this creature. That he cannot stop Doomsday. That's obviously in the end, in other versions, he easily kind of almost tears Doomsday apart in some versions, or if not, he does beat him. But those are versions of Superman that are more confident. This is a version of Superman that's never faced a villain like that, and he doesn't have the confidence to deal with something like that on his own. So
now, obviously, to the public, it looks like he is incredibly confident.
Yeah,
because he has to. Because if you have a superhero that comes in to save your life, he sees a threat and he goes, oh, I don't know. That doesn't really give you trust, does it? So he just does it whatever he thinks. That's the difference between Clark Kent and Superman. Is Superman can't be vocal about his self-doubt, whereas Clark Kent always is. You know, every time with Lois, you know, when someone goes, you know, go up to her, speak to her, he just goes, I don't know, she's so completely out of my league.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing. But Superman just goes up to her because he's supposed to be the perfect human, and the perfect human has no self-doubt.
Also, it's one of those things where people don't understand the disguise. The disguise is not the mask; it is the personality. Superman. Let's have an example of when Superman meets Lois Lane. Let's say Lois Lane, she's on the roof, she's smoking a cigarette, even though she shouldn't. Kind of like in Superman Returns, despite it being a shit film, did this kind of well.
It's good.
He blows. It has good moments. Yeah. He blows out the lighter. She finally figures it out, and then he goes, "Miss Lane, you really shouldn't be smoking." And he takes the initiative to say, "You shouldn't be doing that." You know. Instead of him giving her the option, he's like, no, don't smoke. And that's the thing. He'd immediately he would land and have his shoulders back, and he has this confidence and a deep voice going, Miss Lane, you wanted to speak to me. And he's very formal. Clark is the exact opposite. He's cowardly. He doesn't like conflict. He's a goofball. He's clumsy. He's an oaf. He's kind of lazy. And let's have the interaction now between him and Lois Lane. Lois calls Superman Superman.
Oh, yeah.
She calls Clark Kent Smallville because she thinks he's small in a way, even though that obviously the town
it's from where it's from, but she basically sees him that way because she sees that his values between like the values of Smallville and Metropolis don't line up, and he's so adamant in staying like the small town kind of person.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, I want to say if I were the one who wrote that scene, I would have written Superman to look completely different.
Yeah.
I've probably said something like, you know, aside from obesity, smoking is the largest cause of cancer.
Yeah.
Thank God you're only about to suffer one of them. And then she goes like, what? What? And he goes like, yes, I have X-ray vision. I can see a tumor in your lungs.
Wow.
Shouldn't have smoked.
Wow. Okay.
And then she goes, well, thanks, Superman. And he
Thanks.
goes like,
And he's
don't save me. Go to a surgeon. Get that fucking thing out of there.
Oh, so don't worry. I'm Superman. I'm working on a cure for cancer. Then all of them go, oh.
And he
Because,
goes,
he's a dreamboat.
yeah.
Hell, I'd fuck Superman.
I wouldn't, simply for the reason that
Actually,
my
he'd kill you.
ass would be completely destroyed. It would just be ripped apart.
Fair point. I take it back. But it's one of those things where also whenever Clark Kent stutters a lot, and that's one of the big other things as well about how he hides himself so well, is that he's the guy you don't look twice at.
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne is a guy you would look twice at, because it's one of those things where I've been sort of writing up, I guess, my own sort of treatment for a World's Finest movie, and the first time the two of them meet, and it's Superman figures out Batman is Bruce Wayne by just the fact that he's a reporter and he's good at his job. He doesn't rely on his X-ray vision. And he makes the three things. Okay, money. Who has the money in Gotham to fund all the gadgets that Batman has? Not many people. Probably about 1%, maybe 2%. Okay, who has the physical physique to be Batman in Gotham? Not many people, once again. In fact, that 1% is narrowed down to probably half at least. Now, who has the motive? Once again, narrowed down. You'd probably get it down to 3. You'd probably quickly pick out that it's Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Once you narrow down, the other two aren't. Like, that's the thing. It's easier to narrow down who Batman is than it is for Superman. Because, once again, Clark is in a very busy city, like Bruce Wayne, but Bruce Wayne is a celebrity
He's
figure.
ranking up higher in the hierarchy.
He's a
of
celebrity
that
figure
social...
with his face everywhere.
Yeah.
Clark is, like I said, the guy you do not look twice at. He's the guy you bump into and you go, what the hell? He's like, sorry. And this thing also, whenever he apologizes, typically in a lot of realistic situations, the way you would envision it is he would lower his head in a submissive way. That's a good way of hiding your face.
Not just that, but like his posture is completely different.
He's slouches,
to an extent,
he's lazy.
It doesn't
looking.
carry over well in the comics, but his voice is different.
Yeah.
Superman has all these ridiculously amazing powers that no one knows about.
Yeah.
He can stretch his vocal cord so he can make his voice sound different, which means he can imitate people really well. He can change his posture completely. Like, he can actually deflate his muscles in that same way. And that's why Clark, you wouldn't
looks
think...
scrawnier in it. Not scrawny, but he looks less... He doesn't look muscular. He probably looks tall,
because he just deflates his muscles.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that he becomes weaker. It's just that physically he looks like...
That's actually another thing we have to point out with Superman. Superman, obviously, as Zack Snyder's Man of Steel film kind of represents with the one scene where he's shirtless, but it actually is not like Marvel where they just take off their shirt for no reason. His shirt is burned off in a fire, so it actually, there's reason.
What do you mean shirtless for no reason?
Oh, they're just walking around shirtless to make me feel inferior. Fucking pricks. Obviously, that's not the reason. It's to show that they look like that's the physique of a superhero, but still, God, it makes you feel like a fat sack of shit.
Fat sack of shit.
Yeah.
It's a reason why we're doing this and not what they do.
Yeah, there is a reason. And the thing is, Superman physically doesn't have to be ripped to be powerful. He could be obese and he'd still have that power. He could be anorexic and he'd still have
point
that
in
power.
case Flashpoint.
Yeah, and if you ever watched the movie or read the comic, he's anorexic in that, and he's still godly powerful. If Superman had been there from the start of that conflict, once again, it would have been
There wouldn't be a conflict.
There wouldn't be a conflict. He would have solved it, not in a day, but he would have solved it fairly quickly.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. He would have done what the US government couldn't do. And that's the thing, is that Superman, people make assumptions about him without actually, and that's the thing. I like this thing. I don't know Captain Marvel that well. I don't know Sentry that well. I don't know a lot of these Marvel characters that well, and I never assume that they can beat their DC counterparts, because I don't assume that Captain Marvel could lose or beat Green Lantern, because I don't know how powerful Captain Marvel is. I know how powerful Green Lantern is, but I don't know how powerful she is. Whereas with Superman, people don't do the research, and they just immediately, he's either OP or that he's not OP enough compared to, let's say, Goku. But he is.
Okay, well, that's a completely different.
That is a completely different argument and everything. But
I mean, that whole thing is like, who's stronger, Superman or Goku? Who's stronger? The man who doesn't have any limits, or the one who keeps overcoming his own limits? Fairly obvious.
Yeah.
I mean, even someone who doesn't care about comics or anime at all sees
common
the answer
sense.
here.
Yeah, common sense should win out overall. And now, first off, if any Dragon Ball Z fans are watching, going, "Oh, how dare you insult Goku?" We don't.
Fuck right off.
Yeah, we Goku's probably... I've never watched Dragon Ball Z or read any of the manga or whatever. I'm sure he's an amazing character. I'm sure that your love for him is justified and everything. But first off, Goku's an alien from another planet that was destroyed when he found his way to Earth and he somehow gains power. Sounds a little similar, doesn't? Who do you think Goku is based on?
Also, let's be honest here. Superman's biggest weakness is kryptonite. Goku's biggest weakness is
Himself.
constantly getting amnesia. How the fuck does he do that? You know, he keeps fucking hitting his head at anything, you know?
Huh, wait, if he's super fucking invulnerable and strong, just like Superman, how does hitting his head fucking...
I mean,
now you see the fucking problem with your...
I mean, that's the thing,
Japan-
isn't it? He keeps
Japan-
getting amnesia like every other season or something.
Yeah, Japan doesn't
I mean, I don't
care.
watch, I don't know, but that's what I gather from it. The newest Dragon Ball Z game literally starts with him getting amnesia.
Guys, I mean... But it's
Imagine
not about,
Superman
it's
with
not
amnesia.
about Goku
Jesus.
versus... Oh god, that would be...
That would be
They
hilarious.
have done episodes like that and like things like Smallville, but that's because of either things like magic or
That was
kryptonite or
Justice
things
League
like...
as well, wasn't it? When
Justice
he got
League, yeah.
revived. He basically had
yeah.
amnesia for
And
a
like
season.
that's the thing, like when he loses his memory...
He loses his values.
Yeah, and also the other thing is as well, it's because it's not because he fucking knocks his head on something. I mean, to be fair, we don't watch Dragon Ball Z. Perhaps there's a more justifiable reason, but it's one of those things where I constantly hate Batman fans and Superman fans as well. I won't deny it. Who
Fans in general.
fans in general, yeah, but the fans that put them against each other, I say no. They are brothers. They're not meant. I mean, yes, they're meant to argue. They're not meant to fight all the time. When they fight, it's because they have to. It's because, you know, Batman's brainwashed and Superman has to snap him out of it, and vice versa.
Yeah.
I mean, or when one of them turns and goes a little too far, and the other one has to try and reel them back, saying, "No, you like Injustice, you can't do that."
Yeah.
So,
I mean, the main argument that I heard is there's more situations in which Batman would have the upper hand
yeah,
than for Superman. And that's fair enough. Yeah, if there were to have a fight on Krypton, then yeah, Batman would probably
fucking
win.
obviously.
There's only one problem. Krypton doesn't exist anymore, so we will never know.
And most planets don't typically have red suns. Most planets have yellow suns.
Yeah.
In the DC continuity.
Or blue ones, but I have no idea how it works.
No, it goes... and it's kind of like an age thing. Red suns are the oldest, yellow suns are medium, blue suns are the youngest. And blue suns are very rare. Red suns are a little more common, but they're still fairly rare. Yellow suns are very common across the cosmos. I mean,
That makes sense.
Any planet has a yellow sun. Red suns are suns at the end of their life cycle and they're dying. Typically, why the origin of Krypton's destruction is because their sun explodes. Or whatever reason.
Something like that, yeah.
And blue suns are suns that have just been born. Which, when Superman is around, by the way, he gains infinitely more power than even conceivable. Like, a blue sun essentially makes him a god. Spending 1 million years in a yellow sun gives him the equivalent of, let's say, 500,000. You know, if you half that, that's how much power he'd gain from a blue sun in a day.
Yeah.
A blue sun is... that's why they're so rare in the DC continuity, because they know that's the ultimate get-out-of-jail-free card for Superman. Just have to fly to one and then come back and he's godly.
Yeah. Another situation that I've heard, around Kryptonite. Fair enough. Yeah, Batman wins. Not gonna lie. Superman could still potentially win, but it would be more of a struggle.
Yeah,
But
he'd have to be more careful.
But any other situation, on Earth, without any of these things happening, even on a cloudy day, Superman would win.
Yeah.
In space, Superman versus whatever fucking space jet Batman has, Superman would win.
Yeah.
On the moon, Superman would lift the moon and throw it into the sun. There's no debate about this.
Yeah. I will say, first off, whenever Batman fans go, oh, Batman wouldn't go into a fight unprepared, you've clearly never heard of a story and stakes and, you know, conflicts and obstacles. He goes into a lot of fights unprepared. He goes into a lot of fights with Bane unprepared. That's why his back is cracked.
For like a really long time in comics.
It's because he does do it. Obviously, the big thing that
He's not likely to.
That's fair. Yeah, it's not likely. But the thing is, I always say to people is I always tell them, tell me, okay, quickly, if they're fighting, how much experience do they have and how much prep time is there? If there's more prep time, Batman has the edge. In experience,
Superman.
well, in the end, it depends on which one's had the most experience. If Batman's had more experience, there's a slight edge for him because he's been around longer. But if Superman's been around longer, then...
Has he though? Because Superman had more time to get in touch with his powers than Bruce has actually been training.
Yeah, and I think also that's the thing. Bruce has to constantly train to stay in peak condition.
Yeah.
Superman could eat 1,000 cheeseburgers in a day and nothing would physically change. That's the other thing. Superman has a much lazier time of it than Batman. I know obviously we're probably not doing very well at pitching why Superman's great. You know, when people are arguing, oh, he's so boring and lazy. It's like, well,
You know what? Then let's do a sponsor message, some fun questions, and then we'll get into why he's really great.
Yeah.
This
do
is
you
gonna
want
take
superpowers? Do you want the ability to fly? Do you want the ability to read people's minds? Then we have the substance for you. Super Cream. A cream that gives you superpowers.
What is this cream, guy?
Well, I'll tell you, Ron. If you go to your local Boots or Superdrug or, well, just any sort of, what are else are they called? Not convenience stores, I can't remember. Drugstores.
Drugstores. They're drugs.
They're available there for a reasonable price.
This cream is drugs.
£50.
Where do you put the cream, guy?
You just apply it wherever you want. If you apply it on your body will gain. If you apply it to your muscles, your muscles will gain super strength. If you apply it near your eyes, you'll have X-ray vision. If you apply it to your skull, you'll have the ability to read minds. Wherever you place it, typically is where you'll get your power, or where your powers will be applied.
What if I use the cream on my fingers?
Well, then your fingers will become extra fingery.
What happens if I eat the cream?
If you eat the cream, you'll gain the superhuman ability to eat anything without gaining any weight. Yes!
Sounds like a superpower worth having, guy.
Yes, you're right. Super cream.
They didn't give us a sample, did they?
No,
Fuck no.
I know. They're still working on it. Actually, got cancer.
You don't have to say that. Cream. Super cream. Super cream? Super cream.
Side effects. You may not actually gain any powers. It could give you cancer instead. Positive.
That was our sponsor message.
Alright, there we go.
Thank you very much. And now, our fan submitted questions.
Those were some good ones.
Had fun answering those. If you want to send your own, send them to this email address, dawnofdisc@gmail.com. Why Dawn of Disc, I don't remember. I think because I wasn't bothered to write the whole discussion thing. Also, I just remembered on YouTube we have comments.
Yeah. But anyway.
Which we've disabled for this because of Batman fanboys.
Yeah, we're just tired of your shit. Perfect. Actually, having said that, I think we did this at one point where we listed the worst fan bases ever. I think Batman's fans are rated in
by far
top 5, if not top 3. Let's be honest. You guys are pretty bad. You need to improve drastically. Superman fans are bad, but they're like top 50 bad. You know.
Yeah.
They're nowhere near on your level. We're nowhere near.
You're like top 3 bad.
Yeah. You.
Aside from Star Wars and Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, and the very simple reason.
No, Game of Thrones. Sorry, Game of Thrones is slightly worse than Dragon Ball Z, because they're very if you don't like this show, then you're probably
and it's for that reason. If you want an example, why would Batman win? Because he's Batman. Because he's Batman. So you're not going to give a reason. Because he's Batman. That's
fine. Fine. Here's a reason. Because he's always prepared. But what if he isn't? No, but that wouldn't happen.
That doesn't happen. It has happened. Tell me one time in his fight with Bane that doesn't count.
Why not?
Because he was unprepared.
Because it's Elseworlds. Elseworlds is still like defining the character.
But anyway, moving back onto the topic at hand, Superman.
Why Superman is great rather than why anyone else sucks.
Let me put it this way. One of the particular aspects, he's capable of doing certain things other characters aren't, and that's more in particular inspiring. He inspires people to be better. And that's the thing. When you look at like a typical thing, and it kind of annoys me that there isn't a higher ratio with Superman villains, that not more of them turn to the good side because of him.
Yeah.
It feels like there should be a lot more of them, because it seems like it's something he would take. Because Batman villains, quite a few of them have changed sides. Mostly because a lot of them are quite tragic. Poison Ivy ends up becoming more of an anti-hero these days. So Harley Quinn
kind of as well, but that's because the whole thing with Joker doesn't really gel at some point.
And Catwoman is more of just a love interest, so she's never really truly just a true-on, full-on villain. That's sort of mainly it, and the rest of them are still villains. Whereas with Superman villains, another thing is as well, Superman, I don't think has ever created any of his own villains. Batman has created several of his own villains.
Here's the thing, though, that I think is kind of valid, but that's because I don't know the full roster of Superman villains. A lot of people, especially Batman fans, say, well, Superman isn't that interesting because his villains aren't that interesting.
No, I would give them that simply because I think...
Yeah, I mean, Lex Luthor is getting kind of old.
Yeah, and I think there's Brainiac,
it.
Yeah, there's Brainiac. Darkseid technically is either a Justice League or just Superman villain.
Yeah.
Obviously, you have Doomsday, but he's a mindless monster. You've got Mongol, who's kind of who's a toned down version of Darkseid. You've got
Vandal Savage, I
Vandal
suppose.
Savage, who's a Justice League / Superman villain.
But he's basically like a human that doesn't really die, and that's about it. He can still be.
I will say, I think the point is with Batman is Batman's struggles are always with his villains. Superman's struggle is always with himself.
Himself and like him trying to protect the people.
Yeah, because the simple fact is, one of his greatest flaws is the fact that he believes everyone can be saved. And as a Superman fan, even I think that's not true.
Yeah, same here.
And I think that's the thing, is that what makes him such a great character is that you're seeing him struggle to come to terms with the fact that that is true. And that every day. And the reason why is, while obviously we don't think it's true, and you're probably thinking, well, why do you still find it interesting, is because I admire the fact that he refuses to believe that.
Yeah.
He always fight, and that's the thing, it's inspiring, because you kind of think, I wish I had that same kind of confidence.
Yeah. I mean, when was the last time really that, like, you really agreed with the character that you found is really good? Do Batman fans really agree with Batman's methods?
No, of course they do, because he's Batman.
Yeah, but like, I mean, obviously that.
But no,
makes
like
it
Wonder
fun, but,
Woman
like,
fans wouldn't agree with everything Wonder Woman does, and Green Lantern fans probably don't agree with everything Hal does.
Yeah, I mean,
Hal's probably one of the most. In fact, I'd honestly say he's probably the most flawed member of the League.
Yeah.
Even more so than Batman, simply because Hal was very egotistical and quite self-absorbed.
Yeah, and quite arrogant as well.
Yeah.
And let's face it, getting the ring doesn't make it better, because
It makes him more arrogant.
the whole arrogance converts into willpower.
Yeah.
And that willpower makes him stronger. So in a way, his arrogance makes him stronger.
And actually, it's one of those things where he has the power to back up what he says. That's the thing, and that makes it even worse once again.
I mean, remember Justice League Doom, where like he basically gave up the ring because he saw a vision of, I think, Starfire being like dead.
You mean Sapphire?
Sapphire, sorry. Starfire is
Teen Titans.
Yeah, I get them mixed up.
Yeah, it's because he like sees like a weird version of her die, which actually isn't her.
Yeah.
And it breaks his heart.
And then
her betrayal, oddly enough, of him doesn't break his heart, but it's because he comes to terms with the fact that Hal's a complex individual, simply because we should go back on Superman, but just one final thing.
Yeah, but we should do one of these episodes on Green Lantern. I'm feeling it, man.
We should do an episode for each member of the League, I think. Yeah. That would be justifiable, just because it's...
And then Marvel as well, because there's some characters
Marvel, and Marvel,
Captain America is equally worth saving as Superman, I feel.
Absolutely, yeah.
But
I think we will do episodes. We'll do episodes for 7 members of the League, at least 5, and we'll do the same for Marvel. Yeah. We'll do the same for them.
And you can request them at this email address.
Yeah. But anyway, moving back on to we'll move straight back on to Superman. Oh, so I think one of the things is as well, the thing that's so likable about him is Batman falls in love with Catwoman or Talia al Ghul or Wonder Woman. So he falls in love with people who are just like him, in a way. Kinda. Superman falls in love with a woman who is human, and oddly enough is the one human or person on Earth who I believe could actually just kick his ass outright, because she's a badass, because she doesn't take shit from him in any way. Any member of the League, any Wonder Woman obviously doesn't take shit as well, but he can't put her in her place because he is smarter in a lot of ways than her.
Remember the Justice League episode where the Justice League became the Justice Lords, and basically Superman was having dinner with Lois Lane, and she was constantly telling him like, what you've done with the world is bad, and you know it. And he's like...
And if anyone else said that to him, they'd be locked up. You can imagine Jimmy Olsen probably said that to him in that world, and he either was executed or locked up. Throw his hand
right through his chest.
Yeah.
And like his heart would be in the corner of the room somewhere.
And that's the point, and I think we've looked at it all, and Lois Lane has been referred to as his rock, his anchor to humanity. When Lois is gone, that anchor is gone.
Point in case Injustice.
Injustice, yeah. And I actually say, I think Injustice had a great concept. I don't like it because I think it executed it quite poorly. Mainly because it didn't have the setup I wanted it to. I wanted to see a descent where Superman could snap, but because Lois was always there, it never happened. And then finally it happens and he snaps.
Yeah.
Not in the game, but in the comics at least.
Yeah, because this requires a lot of like knowledge beforehand.
Yeah, and it just doesn't.
And kind of assuming that people like Superman, which obviously making this episode, it proves that
not everyone does. And also, I think people who say they like that version of Superman the most, I always tell them it's not It's not him though.
Yeah.
I mean, it has the S, has his hair, has everything, but it is not
Yeah.
Superman.
You want to see a good Superman? There's a film I can recommend called Superman versus the Elite. This is the film that I've always held up as the standard of what a Superman should be.
Yeah.
Basically, all of this is it's about.
And it's kind of everything we've talked about. In a way,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Basically, so the story is there's these 4 youngsters who turn out to have like these amazing superpowers who start showing up, and
The Elite.
they call themselves the Elite. And basically, Superman finds them, and they basically say to him, "We want to be superheroes like you." So he goes, "Okay, I'll train you guys." And at some point, they actually like help Superman. A bad guy comes in and they kill him, and then Superman says, "This is not the way. We don't kill." And he goes, "Why?" They go, "Why not? You know, we just get rid of the crime and by killing the person, we'll get rid of it." And then Superman keeps saying, "No, but this is not how, this is not how it worked." But then inadvertently, people are cheering on the Elite, and they're saying they're actually solving crime.
This is what people want.
This is what people want. And then Superman keeps saying, "This is not what you really want. It's only what you think you want."
It ends in the perfect way. Spoilers, obviously, but it ends in the perfect way because at the very end, Superman ends up kind of taking on like, "Oh, I agree with them now. I'm going to kill the Elite and prove to people that I should do it instead of these guys." And at the very end, the leader of the team, the Manchester Black, is confronted by the fact that Superman now is willing to kill. And it scares him because now he sees a guy who's more powerful than him, who now has no limits. And Superman has just gone through all of Metropolis, wrecking up the place, not caring about civilians, not caring about anything. Yeah. Basically just with the aim to kill and humiliate the Elite. And Manchester Black thinks Superman has just basically killed not just his team, but hundreds of innocent people.
Yeah.
And at the very end, Superman reveals that it was all basically a facade. It was him proving to everyone,
killing is not the way.
Killing is not the way. And it's fine when people like this do it because there are people like me who can stop them. What if I did that? Because you guys asked that of me. You asked me to cross that line. This is the result of what could happen if someone did. Yeah. And it's very powerful messaging.
And what's even, to make it all worse as well, is like the Elite throughout the film has these like little cameras like buzzing around and like sending live broadcasts over the entire world to like Times Square, the screens there. So all of that is broadcasted live and people see Superman snap live and just go like, "All right, yeah, you're right. Killing is the way. Yeah. This is the way. It's working. I can see it working. And now I will kill the bad guys." And he just proceeds to like fucking pretending to kill them, and people are shocked. There was even this kid who was the son of a big Superman
political
fan
figure,
in the UN, who was like, "Yeah, the Elite, they do what has to be done." But then when he sees Superman killing people, he's like, "Superman, please don't do this. This is not you."
A bit of backstory behind that is that his father was killed in an incident. And he said to the Elite, "Kill," because the guy that they kill in the end was the person who killed his father. And he said, "Yes, kill them." And in the end, he kind of understands what his father was, sort of why his father supported Superman so much. Because now he sees, like, Superman is a symbol of pure and kind and goodness in the world. And when he sees the version of Superman that he kind of wants, the Elite version, it frightens him. And it frightens a lot of people as well.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the point about... If Batman snaps and turns on everyone, obviously kind of Dark Knight Metal showed the possibilities of it, which I still...
Well, not necessarily... I mean, some examples, but they're Dark Multiverse
Yeah,
stuff.
the Dark Multiverse, so it's kind of supposed to happen that way. Whereas in the real, primary multiverse, it wouldn't happen that way.
Well, not that much, but the thing is, in the primary universe still, there are occasions where Batman did decide that killing his enemy that he's struggling with at the time, killing him would be better in a particular case. But I'm like, you're saying that that's good, but it's not, because Batman doesn't kill.
Yeah.
It's a core rule.
Yeah.
I mean, you can change the core rule to say Batman doesn't use guns, but that's not true because he uses a grappling gun, so that doesn't count. I see it more as Batman doesn't kill because he's pretty early on in his career, after like facing off with Joe Chill, decided killing people doesn't bring dead people back and doesn't prove a point. It actually makes you worse.
Yeah,
it does. It makes you worse than they are, because you're not just doing what they're
Yeah.
doing, you're also professing to people that what you're doing is right
Yeah.
because you're killing the right people to
And
kill.
it's just one of those things where I'm not going to be one of those Superman fans that says, "Oh, Superman's never killed." Yes, he has. He has killed before, but the thing is, once again, it's similar with Batman. He does it less so. He does kill less than Batman.
Wait,
But
that's,
way less. Well, not even way less. Batman kills very little as well, anyway, from the start. Like
yeah, but he still has,
does.
He,
He
still,
still
has,
has,
instances.
yeah. But Superman, let's use Man of Steel as an example. When Superman kills Zod at the very end of Man of Steel, he doesn't murder Zod. He saves people. And that's the point. Superman saves people, and if he has to kill someone to do it, if these are innocent people and the person he has to kill is the villain,
And there is no other way to do it.
and yeah, there's no
Very
other way.
important.
If he sees no other way, if he has to admit to himself, I cannot save these people without killing this villain, he will do it. He will do it. But if he sees that there is a possibility of preventing the villain from dying and killing these people, he'll take it, because it doesn't sit well with him, the idea of taking someone's life, because everyone deserves a chance, and he believes people can be redeemed. And I think also more importantly, as we were kind of saying before, and this is, I think one of the good quotes that came out of anything to do with Batman is like, "Oh, I'm not the hero this city deserves, but I'm the one it needs," or something like that. I don't remember.
Maybe it was the opposite.
It may have been, "Oh, I'm not the city. I'm not the hero this city needs. I'm the one it deserves." I think it was that one. Yeah, I think it was that way. Sorry. Superman has a similar quote, kind of actually reversed in a sense. I don't think he's ever said it, and no one's ever said it to him, but it's one that applies to him. Don't go where you're wanted, go where you're needed. And that kind of hits home in a
Yeah.
weird way with Dawn of Justice, despite how bad it is. Is he stays on Earth because he knows he's needed. No one wants him there, but he's needed there. And it's one of those things where that will always be what keeps him on Earth besides Lois, is him realizing these people need me. And if they hate me, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They don't have to love me, they don't have to respect me, they just have to let me save them. Or not even let me save them, I just have to, no, they don't have to anything. I have to do something. And that's the simple reality of Superman, is that no matter how bad it gets, how dark it gets, he will always see some light. And that's the thing, not every hero is capable of that. Flash is, Wonder Woman is, Green Lantern is, but not many others besides them, I'd say. And Green Lantern mainly because he is basically walking like Flash.
Batman is just diseased in that way, where he doesn't know any better than being Batman at this point.
And I think that's the thing. The good thing is about Batman is that Superman in many ways isn't completely aware of how flawed he is. Batman is more aware, so he's more self-aware of how flawed he is, because that's the thing. He is aware that he's a cancer, essentially. He is aware that he, and I think that's the thing. Nightwing is the first example of that, and it's the first example where he accepts it. Probably more so Jason Todd, but Nightwing leaves because he knows Batman is cancer.
Yeah, not just that, but he's so caught up with being a superhero that Nightwing is Dick Grayson who fights crime, but Batman is Batman who just happens to be a millionaire on the side. And Nightwing did not want to commit to being a crime fighter rather than being a human being who.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, is that Bruce Wayne is not Batman. Batman is Bruce Wayne. Whereas with Superman, it's not that Clark Kent is Superman or Superman is Clark Kent. They're both each other. That's the thing. Superman has found a way to merge the two into one.
Yeah, to balance the lives in between.
Yeah, to having a normal human life and having a superhero life.
He'd manage to live if he wasn't a reporter.
Yeah.
It's never been a problem for him.
Yeah.
Actually, I do wonder where the money comes from. Not gonna lie.
Superman?
Yeah.
Probably sells his technology to the government.
Maybe like every now and again he like robs a bank.
Well, he's so fast he'd get away with it.
Yeah.
And it'd be like, he rips the door out, robs the bank, and then he speeds in. The villain's like, "Oh look, Atomic Skull just robbed the bank.
Just came in here.
I better stop."
What? I didn't do it. That's like, what they all say.
Yeah, I know you did it. And then just the whole time Lois is like, "You robbed the bank." Yeah, I robbed the bank.
Yeah.
The thing is we'll get into the relationship Superman has in a second with other members of the League as well, because they're very important to explore, and then possibly comparing him with the Avengers. But I think just final note with like the part about Superman is he's almost a mentor-like figure to the League.
Yeah.
And to the rest of the world, and to Lois, because he's someone. Lois as well is a mentor for him as well. You know, she's someone he can always go to advice, and vice versa. But he is someone the entire League, even Batman, has gone to for advice. You know, that's the thing, because Superman, It's not that he's the smartest. It's not that he's the most cunning or anything like that. He is the most motivating mentor that you could meet. You know, he's the one who can convince you.
He's a natural leader. He's a natural charmer.
He's a natural leader and charmer, and that's the thing. Obviously, as we just said, one should be the one in charge. There's a reason he's the face. It's because, once again, he's someone everyone can trust. Because if you have a secret and you're kind of ashamed of it and you don't want the League to know, he won't tell the League.
No.
He'll always keep your secrets.
He's the perfect friend.
He's the perfect friend. That's the thing. He is the perfect friend. And it's as Jimmy has, Jimmy's friends with Clark, but Superman's his best pal, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. He is everyone's best friend. And that's the thing. When Batman's going out stopping the villains, he doesn't care about the little people. Obviously, he fights to protect them, but he doesn't care about them.
Yeah.
If Superman is flying by and he sees a kid on the street crying, he'll stop to talk to them. He'll like, what's wrong, son? It's like, oh, I fell over. It's like, oh, that's a shame. I fell over once. And like, did it hurt? Of course it hurt. Obviously, I don't physically have scars, but it hurts to fall, but it's powerful when you get up and keep running. And that's the thing, is that he can motivate people, motivate the best parts of people.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why he's such an important hero. And I will say this, final note, Batman is great for people who like badass people who can overcome anything. But for people who are depressed, for people who need something to cling on to, that light glimmer of hope, Superman is the best person for them to read comics on, because he can inspire. And that's the point about Superman. He inspires people. He inspires them to be better. He inspires them to fight on. Yeah.
And that is the final note we want to end on.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching this slightly longer episode. I think this was a good one, and we would love to do more of these about other characters. We'll probably do one about Batman eventually as well.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. If you want the ones you can expect, I think, from a sort of Batman,
Wonder Woman,
Flash,
Green Lantern,
definitely. I think even Aquaman at one point should probably get an episode.
I'd love to do that, because he's also kind of one
and
of
he's
those
a founding
characters
member as well.
Yeah,
and that's the thing.
But like, how many times have you heard like people just going, "Oh, Aquaman, he's such
all
a
he can
stupid."
do is talk to fish.
Yeah. Also,
never done any research about who he actually is. He's the king of the most
king of
powerful
Atlantis.
nation on Earth.
Also, in his own words, he doesn't talk to fish.
He telepathically communicates with them.
That's different. Fucking assholes.
And I guess Avengers, you can expect it on Tony. I guess Iron Man, Thor,
Captain America,
Hulk, and Captain Marvel. I think is worth doing.
It's worth doing, yeah. Especially characters. I feel like most importantly, like characters that people don't quite know and keep bashing for no good reason.
Or characters that you have heard of, but you hear people talk about them, but you don't bother to do the research on your own. We're not saying that you guys don't know who Superman is. We're saying you don't bother to figure out who he is.
Yeah, he's like the awkward kid that no one really wants to be friends with, and then there's new people coming in, and they're like, "Who's he? He's awkward. I don't like him. No one's hanging out with him, probably for a reason." And they just completely bypass him when he's probably one of the most intelligent, most amazing people in that class.
Because I think we're going to end it on one final note, saying simply to Batman fans, Superman wore cape. After him, every other superhero seemed to wear capes.
True.
Superman wore the underwear on the outside of his pants because he's an alien and it's fashionable on his planet. Batman did it because he's a crazy person who's like a bat. But he still did it after Superman did it. Superman wore red and blue. After him, almost every other superhero wears red and blue. He pioneered this stuff. He is the godfather of superheroes.
There's reasons for that.
I mean, there's obvious reasons, but he's the first one who did it.
There's
technical reasons, but he's the first one who did it.
True.
Therefore, he's the one who pioneered it all. He is the one who started it. He is the godfather. Every single superhero you know, in some way, resembles him, or they resemble Batman, who resembles him. So, simply put,
don't hate on a character.
You who first off helped give birth to your characters, and more importantly, is someone who is the most famous superhero ever.
Yeah,
and was
without a doubt
once upon a time the most popular superhero ever for at least 30, 40 years running. Batman's just barely had about 20 years. Superman's like 40 to 50.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, like, every time you ask someone, name 3 superheroes, they will always say Batman, Superman, and Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It's not a coincidence that Superman is one of the ones mentioned.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Batman and Spider-Man may occasionally be interchanged, by either someone like Wonder Woman or Captain America.
Superman will always be there.
He'll always be there because he is Superman. And on that note,
Thank you very much for watching.
and please don't have to read his comics, don't have to love him, but at least respect him, and don't bash him every single time, because he has earned your respect.
And ours.
Whether you'd like
and
to
our
or
love.
not. Yeah, our love and our respect, and hopefully at least yours.
Thank you very much for watching, and tune in next time where we pitch films for Disney.
Yeah. Hashtag make Tommy Wiseau Batman. Wherever you place it typically is where you'll get your power, or where your powers will be applied.
What happens if I put the cream on my testicles?
Then you've got super sperm, and when you.
Fuck. I tried to do it with a straight face, but it's really hard.
You put me in a
Okay,
difficult
let me do something else. Okay. What if I put the cream? No, I can't.
well,
I was gonna do butthole, but it doesn't work.
No, just leave the sexual stuff.
Okay.